Welcome to the Daughter with Daddy Issues podcast. Here we get raw, real, and vulnerable. We bring the heart, the mind, the body, and the soul together as we explore the complexities and nuances of the father-daughter relationship. I'm your host, Surzana, and I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you. Follow and subscribe for insightful conversations where we share the spice, the sugar, and the salt, where we share lessons, a lot of laughter, some heartbreaks, and everything in between, where healing and learning becomes a collective experience. This is the Daughter with Daddy Issues podcast for the daughters and their fathers, because your story matters. Our story matters.
Can you hear me? Is this working? All right, let's go. Welcome to episode 7, everybody. 4 days ago, I gave myself a task. I did a little exercise where I asked myself, if I could say anything to the woman that my father had an affair with, what would that be? Now, I hadn't realized at the beginning how incredibly challenging this was going to be. I know it sounds like a little crazy of an exercise to do. It most definitely brought back memories, grief, and a range of other emotions. There were so many times when I was asking myself, why was I even doing this? But I'm so glad I did. I am so glad I did. They say that life begins outside your comfort zone, and they are absolutely right. Even though this was incredibly challenging and incredibly uncomfortable, at the end of it, I gained some valuable insights, and for that, I am grateful. So, if I could say anything to the woman that my father had an affair with while he was married to my mother, then this would be my message to her. You and my father met in April 2005. This is May 2024. It has been 19 years since the start of my father's affair with you. You guys were together for like 2 years, I think, before you both broke up. But somehow I forgot to break up with you in my mind. Somehow you had stayed stuck in my memories and in my subconscious. Finding out about my father being disloyal to my mother and continue to be disloyal to my mother was very tough. Watching him completely ignore the toll that his affair was taking on my mom was tough. She had fallen into a very deep depression for months, and she wasn't really talking to anybody, not even me. I witnessed her a few times to try to talk to my father, and I watched him how he would just stonewall her and ignore her and continue to prioritize you over her and continue to prioritize you over us, and that was tough. I was only 12 at the time, and somehow I knew deep in my bones that there was no going back from this. I was pretty frightened that my parents' marriage was beyond repair now, and I think it was crumbling a sense of family stability for me. I was also starting to feel a little bit of shame because I could feel the community that we were living in were already starting to gossip about my parents. I think I had also started to lose respect for my father because to me, I could see how much my mom was hurting, but also how my father was in a way disrespecting the institution of marriage. And even though I understand now as an adult that it's all very complicated and it's all very complex, I think at the time, like I said, I had started to lose respect for my father. And it's not talked about often how heartbreaking it can be when a daughter starts losing respect for her father. Probably many of us may not be even aware of the pain or may not have fully grieved the pain that comes with losing respect for our father, especially at an age where we are still very much attached to him, where we still very much love him. And I think we continue to love our fathers. Do we ever really stop? Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. I don't know. But despite all this, I hesitate to call you a homewrecker. I hesitate because it shifts the responsibility only to you. And I hesitate because You were just an external manifestation of the fact that my parents' marriage was wrecked to begin with. Their marriage was already in troubled waters before you showed up. And even though I cannot speak for my mom, I could see how my father's infidelity was still devastating for her. Before you showed up, I was Daddy's little girl. He was my best friend and the center of my universe. I was the center of his universe. I was his little princess. And at that age, I was still very much attached to him. I was so clingy with him. I was constantly seeking his approval. I was looking at my father as my hero. But then you showed up, and to little Surzana, that's when she felt that she was starting to lose her father. Now, I can't help but reflect if maybe I was subconsciously looking for my father's love in all of my previous romantic relationships. If I was subconsciously trying to restore and heal the original heartbreak. You were the reason for my first heartbreak. And I wonder if you were somehow doing the same at the time when you were in a relationship with my father, because I remember overhearing this conversation where my father was telling my mom that apparently you had an estranged relationship with your father. Apparently your father had also battled alcoholism and infidelity, like my father was battling at the time. Will it be too far-fetched for me to assume that maybe you also had your own unhealed father wounds? That maybe you were also a daughter with daddy issues? And I wonder if you were looking for your father's love by trying to get my father to love you so you could feel chosen, validated. Or I wonder if you were attracted to unavailable men because I can deduce from the story, your father was not available to you. And I get it. I get it that it all happens on a subconscious level, and I get it that sometimes it's not malicious. But sometimes some of our actions may not seem malicious to ourselves, but they can be very selfish. I wonder if you were trying to see if a man would give up his family to choose you. Were you trying to feel if you were worthy enough to be chosen? Did it feel like a challenge maybe? Did it help you feel maybe desired, powerful, in control? Or were you trying to numb something within you? What was hurting you so much that when my father offered his comfort, attention, and pleasure to you, that you decided to keep taking it? Did you feel like his love was the best that you could have ever have? And in hindsight, I get it. He was charming. He was excellent when it came to love bombing. Had you fallen for it? Did you feel like it was your last chance at love? I guess I will never know, and I suppose I don't need to know. I suppose I don't have to keep asking these questions and wondering what it was, but what I do know is that love doesn't have to be built on heartbreak. What I do know that it is possible to take responsibility of our woundings so we can take accountability of how they play out in our relational patterns with ourselves and with others. And with that, I consciously decide to break up with you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I consciously decide to let go of my need for my father's love. I consciously decide to take radical responsibility to heal my first heartbreak, because the truth is I will never get my father back. I take radical responsibility to heal my pattern where I subconsciously keep looking for his love and approval in everything I do. I realize that I never needed my father's love to validate my self-worth. I validate my self-worth. And with that, this is my closure with you. I hope you have found peace if you haven't already. Hey all, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Daughter with Daddy Issues podcast. I am so thankful that you were here. We hope our candid conversations have resonated with you or simply provided a moment of connection. If you enjoyed our show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, or leave a review. I welcome and invite you to share your thoughts, feelings, stories. If you're interested in having a conversation or being a guest speaker, please email me at thedaughterwithdaddyissues@gmail.com. Or you can follow and DM me on my Instagram handle at thedaughterwithdaddyissues. Please stay tuned for the next episode, and remember, you are not alone. Because every story deserves to be heard, especially the ones with some sugar, salt, and spice. And I thank you for being part of my story. See you soon.